Good evening, Sam.
Good evening, Jim. Good to be here again.
You're a fan of Wildcard rent? Well, actually, go back to the start. When it was first announced poorly, might I add, which I actually didn't have an issue with it. I just had an issue with how they sold the pup. Did you like it when it was first announced?
No, I didn't like it when it was first announced. I understand it when we get to closer to 20 teams and it ends up being kind of half of the competition. I didn't love being brought in. If it was to be brought in, I was just hoping it would be not so much a wild card where it's an extra final for a bunch of teams to play, just rejig the way that the top 10 works for a finals perspective. But a bit, my team's affected in this, so I'm thoroughly enjoying the wild card round and the Blues being alive in the back end of the year. It keeps more teams alive. What they brought it in for was to keep more teams alive, and I don't the exact saying, I can't keep it off the top of my head, but is it more games of consequence?
Yeah,
is that what they were after? They've got more games of consequence, whether it be the teams in 5th and 6th trying to avoid the wild card round or trying to get into the top 4, plus then the teams that are out trying to get in. I think it's brought some theatre to the end of the year, which is not a bad thing in AFL footy.
Would you have liked it more if they said, hey, we're going to reward the top 6 more so they get a bye? So you get greater reward for being a good side, a very good side for the last 6.5 months. And instead of calling it a final, it's just a play-in to get into the finals.
Like in the NBA, how they have the play-in tournament where, potentially. And it's kind of arguing semantics, really, of
that's exactly what it is.
Are you a finalist team or not? And do you deserve to be a finalist team if you're not better than half of the league? It's an interesting discussion. I'm not as fussed about it in that aspect of whether it's a final or not. I think it'll feel like a final either way. It's kind of, you got one game to win it, otherwise you're done. But I think there's an opportunity to kind of, if you just go top 10, to rejig the way that it works and I'm not a mathematician and can't figure out how that all works exactly, but. I think making a bunch of teams just play an extra game is a bit stiff in a 24-round season plus finals. It's going to be really hard to win it. It was already hard to win it from sort of 7th and 8th. It's now going to be even harder to win it from 7th down to 10th.
Peter's given us a call, and you can call us on 133 693. Good evening, Peter. Peter, are you there?
Yes, Jimmy, how are you?
Good, Peter.
For the extra 2 matches for the final, I feel what it's called now. Memory blank. I think the Brisbane Lions tanked last weekend. That last quarter, they gave up almost 5 goals for their 2 points. I think only the last 15 minutes. They have to be tanking. Otherwise, if they make the grand final but lose or win, the AFL season is too long.
Yeah, it's an interesting point of view. Look, I think an upset was on the cards. Of course, everyone probably had Brisbane as the favourites, clearly going into that game, especially the way they were playing, even though it was at Marvel Stadium and Carlton plays that well. But I don't think anyone saw a 70-plus point victory for the Blues.
No, and it'd be an interesting tank because they've nearly stuffed themselves for top 4. They can still make it, and if things go well, but losing as much percentage as they did in a tight percentage battle against, say, an Adelaide, for example, and Geelong in that aspect, but so it might cost them, but. Yeah, there was both on the weekend in terms of Brisbane not playing well and the Blues playing really, really well. Brisbane, I still have them right up there in my books, and there's the trust level in it. But their profile behind the scenes is a worrying sign. Their points against and their defence at times. When they're off, when they're on, they're like a top 2 to 3 defense in the league, and their numbers suggest that. When they're off, they're like long last.
Yeah, they're right off.
They're like right off the scale on the other side. So the difference between their best and worst defensively is quite stark. And does that pop up in a final? If they play anything like they have in those losses, and especially on the week, if they play anything like that in the final, they'll get absolutely pantsed by the best teams in the competition. So, interesting game on the weekend. The Blues, they're the story on the other side. They play really, really well, but there's definitely the story of the Lions in terms of we all thought that mid-season slump in their defensive statistics was solved, and then that kind of reared its head again on the weekend.
And another couple of injuries as well to the Brisbane Lions. Josh Fraser, we have a fair sample size, 11 games, 9-2, which over that period would have them second on the ladder. If you go through all the metrics, they are top 4, top 5 in a lot of those. Again, he was asked on whether he'll enter the race for the Carlton head coaching job.
I haven't put my hand up for the job yet or to go through the process. I'll take a little bit of time, and I'm mindful that I've said that previously, and that decision's getting closer. But post that press conference, my sole focus has been on tonight.
When are you going to put more thought into whether you're going to put your hand up for the job?
Yeah, it'll be. I mean, this week I'll come to a decision. I'm really enjoying the opportunity. My aim at the start of this was to help the club move forward. I feel like in this process I'm learning so much about myself. I'm almost convinced that you're never a finished product in terms of being ready. But I'm open-minded how I keep getting better with this to make a decision soon.
He couldn't be any more impressive with a microphone in front of him, and he couldn't be any more impressive in the coach's box, and by the sounds of it, from Monday to Friday as well. Make the case for Josh Fraser, Sam Docherty.
Make the case. I don't think I have to make much of a case.
He's
for
making
him
it pretty well.
The metrics and the win-loss all kind of speaks for itself. Their process has shifted a fair bit in terms of the way they're playing. The way they're playing for their group play is quite smart. This selfless nature has been really evident over the last sort of little period with them. You look at all of the small changes he's made in terms of personnel on the team. They've assisted it. He hasn't got much wrong. That's the plain and simple of it. And the numbers and the wins are banking off the back of it. There's the small pieces, like you listen to that audio, and he lost his dad last week, and then he still has sole focus on the game and the club and moving forward. Like, just that selfless attitude and calming presence behind the scenes just seems like it's working so well for the whole footy club. I was watching Sunday Footy Show. I think it was Lloydie that said this. It was around every other person's going in there and creating a presentation. They're trying to sell the dream of what they can do. What they can't show is how well they connect with the group. You just can't do that in terms of a presentation. You've never met the players. You've never been in the footy club. You can't sell that in your presentation. So I'm just getting to a stage that if he says yes, his presentation in terms of the way he wants the club to play their footy is outstanding. It's showing that it works because of the group that he's got is winning at the moment at a really high level. And then you can see the connection he has with the group. So I've got to a stage where I find it really, it'll be a really interesting decision if they go away from him. This is still with the caveat of him saying yes this week, which a lot of people are expecting him to do that. So it's going to be an interesting decision for Graham. I don't think when they went into this process they thought that Josh would be the guy on the other side, but I think he's shown that he's ultimately ready. And the last comment he said around, I don't think you're ever the finished product, that's the exact thing.
So he's actually got a live match sim that he can show.
Yeah.
So a lot of potential coaches of the Carlton Football Club will be speaking in, if I could do this, it would hopefully look like this.
Theoretical. Like
he can do the two-handed, there it is. There it is. That's how it plays out as well. So he has that advantage on everyone. So if you're sitting there on the panel, how much weight do you give to, there it is, the last 11 weeks?
Well, there has to be a fair chunk of it. No, and this is probably, and I know the club's been, they've appointed David Teague off the back of a caretaker process that won a few games.
Do you reckon that scares?
I think it would. I don't know if it'd scare you. It would just make sure, it would make you be wary. So it would make you really think through the decision and not get rushed by emotion. But I don't think they have been rushed by emotion. It's been 11 weeks. They're still going to take. It still seems like they're going to take the remainder of the year. They've gone slowly. They've gone methodically through this. They found the candidates they want to present to the coaching panel. They then got to a stage where it's at a short list of a few, and now they're at the stage which we spoke about this ages ago. That if it gets to the stage and Josh is going well, they'll ask him to be part of it, which is what's happened. Now it's at the stage they're at the final finishing touches. I think you can't ignore that the finished product, well, the product is in front of you, and this is what I've done with next to no time to actually put my fingerprints fully on it, and you put more time over the off-season.
So will it be harder with expectation on you then?
I think either way there's expectation on the person that takes it now. I think that whether it's Josh, there's expectation around what happened at the back end of this year and the impressive nature that they play. But anyone else that takes the job is going to be looking back over this time with this list and this group, and they're going to probably be compared to, it's not like it's a team that's lost in the back half of the year. They're going to be compared to, hang on, you actually have a fair amount of cattle and a fair amount of talent on the list to be able to play well. I think whoever takes the job gets judged off that next year anyway, so there will be expectation.
So if he doesn't take the job,
where does that leave him?
Yeah, clearly not saying anybody else is different, but he's presenting as a high-class citizen that he'd adjust and do whatever he can for the Carlton Football Club, because I don't think we can ever doubt him. Every time he says that into a microphone, we truly believe him. He's coming across as very stand-up, very honest. But what about the new coach that's coming in? And just hypothetically, Sam Docherty comes in, and I hope you don't do this, but you're zipping 5. the turning around from the Carlton faithful will be, go, get the hooded bloke back up front, can you? So that'll be an interesting manage.
It'll be an interesting manage, but it's also...
Or does he go elsewhere?
I don't think he goes elsewhere. It's only his first year back at the club, and Graham Wright specifically brought him in because he really rated him as an assistant coach, and I don't think anyone thought that it would play out exactly the way it has this year. I'd probably look the other way and think, if he doesn't get the job, what an asset to have in your footy club. The person that just changed a few things and knows the players, knows in depth how they work, knows how to manage it. To be able to tap into that resource as an incoming coach would be so valuable. So I think either way, he's got a really significant role at the club regardless. There's always going to be that management of, if they choose someone else, how they come in and how that's presented to the group and the club as a wider approach. But I think he's got so much humility about the way that he goes about it. I don't think he's going to stick his head out too far and get in the way. He's only going to be trying to help the footy club moving forward. And personally, I hope he gets the job. And that's just based off everything that I'm seeing in the way they play, everything I see of him in the media, knowing him as a person, but just that calming presence and humility. I just can't, for the footy club, I think it'd be a really good person to lead them.
Our side is out there for everyone to see. There's not a lot of older players out there. There's some really good established players, and then there's some young emerging talent that's coming through that we're really, really excited by. Leo Lombard, second-year player. Jeb Walter, third-year player. Jake Rogers, third-year player, barely played. Get to see some exciting things from him tonight. Bailey Humphrey, emerging talent that we think is going to be you can see what he's going to become. So those sort of things come. There's a really good side up there that's at the top of the ladder at the moment. If you look at our template and their template, similar things have happened in the history. If you go back over time, that's what we want to be. They made some significant changes at the end of one of the years, had a little bit of an indifferent year, but then bounced, and they are where they are. They're going to be there for a long time. I think we're going to be up there for a fair amount of time too.
Damien Hardwick attempting to do the impossible, compare the Gold Coast Suns to the Fremantle Football Club. There is one big major glaring difference there, Damien. The Fremantle players always were wanting to defend and play for each other.
I don't know. I feel like that. I get from an age profile, maybe you can say that.
But when he first landed the Gold Coast Suns, it wasn't to build a list. He said we had 80% of the players here
ready to compete now.
Yep, ready to go now.
Sometimes what you say, you get held to account in the media.
Yeah, and I feel bad for him on that one.
But it's an interesting take, to say the least. Just watching them play, even when Freo, missed, and they missed with one of the years around the expectation of having to win late in the year and just not getting that right and failing in that moment. I wouldn't compare that to what's happening with Gold Coast now. The 10-game slide, 0-10 for the last 10, that's a different looking form of issues in terms of what the eye says for me. I commentated their game on the weekend, and they played better. I'll give them that. They played better, but then ultimately when the game got late, they just got found out again by a team that wanted to play more as a team, and they wanted to compete, and they were more clinical in those moments. Yeah,
and when the pressure went on, they went back to serving themselves. Again, 50-metre penalty when the game's on the line. Well, advanced it. So you take a maybe a goal to a certain goal, and the game's over. There's guys spreading to get the ball, not spreading to defend.
And that's been a hallmark of their performance for a while now, is around that. You look at, am I running to defensive cover, or am I running slightly to receive? So often it's running to receive and not in that defensive-minded moment, and it's cost them for weeks. And it hasn't really been fixed for weeks. I know that they're kind of digging into their game now, and they're probably asking their questions. And ultimately this year, as bad as it is right now for Gold Coast and for Damien Hardwick, this will help them.
Yeah, well, yeah.
If you use it in the right way.
Yeah, correct. So that's what you and I are hopeful of. And I was a believer in the Suns, and I'm a believer in their talent. Like, you can't have that much talent and be that poor. But you worry, you hope that last year wasn't the outlier.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where you've really got to dig into the Gold Coast Suns, because how many players are going to hang around?
Yeah, and that's the bit that we don't know.
And then are they going to look to other teams to get their team success? So, like, when they sit back and finish their career, you know, if they spend it all at Gold Coast, is going to be, I got paid well and I got some individual awards? Or are they going to go, no, I want the Gold Coast Suns, I want to be part of their first premiership side? Or do I just go looking elsewhere for a premiership?
And to speak, I don't know too many of the Gold Coast boys up there, but like Noah Anderson and Matty Rao are top-notch characters and people, and they're the people you want to lead the footy club. But ultimately, at the moment, for whatever reason, the team is just playing in that way, and the microscope's always on you when you're not winning. Everyone looks at your game, everyone looks at what's happening and tries to find the reason why, and ultimately, what we're all seeing, and sometimes you need to take a step back to be able to see it. And this is probably something that I've realised this year in footy, especially when you're in it, you can kind of convince yourself of so many different things. And when you're out of it, and as a fan and as someone that's watching the game, you can kind of see trends across the competition of what some teams do and what other teams don't. And there's no more stark a difference in the way that teams play their footy than probably Freo and the Suns. If we're going off Dimmer's example of where they could be, Freo play a brand of football that is all for each other. It's all for the team. It's all for how can I get back and defend, and how can I show up for my teammate individually and collectively. And that's where the Suns need to get to, but they're a long way off that at the moment.
They have too many games where if you go to the tackle count. Now, if you have a look at the top 10 on the ladder and then your top 10 tackling teams, they're pretty well aligned. It's pretty glaring, you know. And then you look at the Suns, but then there's too many games where you scroll down on, you know, the AFL website and you look at the tackle columns, and you're right, it's Rao with 10 and maybe it's Anderson with 8, but then you'll have 16 players with a combined 5. So like 7 players don't register a tackle. It relies on too few. Sorry to cut you off there. I remember going to the MCG, and I've told this story before, when Richmond, you know, the year that they got their first premiership, and they're playing the Hawks late in the year, and I was lucky enough to be on the boundary. You walked out at quarter time, and I went, oh no, this team actually gets it. So it was, you know, when Castagna, Rioli was a forward at that time, Butler, you know, all the smalls buzzing around. They were going up to each other, and they actually understood that by them putting pressure on, it means Dusty and Koch and the mids could go to work, which meant, you know, Rance at that stage and Asprey and Grimes could press up, and they understood that each line relied on the other. I don't think Gold Coast get that yet. So I don't think they understand, hey, forwards, yeah, we want you to kick goals and do cool things, but we need you to be part of, you know, the first line of defence. And the mids, yeah, it's cool you're getting 30 touches, but we need you to press up. So then the backs actually go, well, they're all moving up, we better move up. But it's all disjointed between the lines.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's an evolution of all this stuff. And maybe we all thought that they'd learnt the lessons over the years that you needed to do these things, and you knew that these are the intangibles that you need to go and do on game day. Maybe they haven't learnt that yet, and maybe this is their year of learning that, about the difference between trying to play well yourself versus trying to play well as a team, and understanding the small but subtle difference in that. Just on the tackle count, the game has got a lower tackle count. That's what's happened. With part of the rules that have been brought in and the way that the game's shifted, the tackle count has got lower. But now it's started to show that the teams that tackle, that's the gold in the game, because that means that you're still able to put pressure on. When you've fallen off, when the tackle count goes low, that's the teams that are really struggling to put pressure on consistently.
Just going back half a step, Tom Morris is reporting on Josh Fraser. We heard in our little bit of soundbite that he was going to take this week to decide whether he wanted to be put into the Carlton coaching process. But per Tom Morris, Carlton have removed any expectation on Josh Fraser to make a call on entering the club's process until next week due to personal circumstances. So that is a great mark of respect, and that is the right call, of course. Unfortunately, Josh and to his family, Josh lost his father during the week, so our thoughts are with the Fraser family.
I don't know how you interpret. Why would you say it's strong feedback?
I just look at a stern conversation, then you respond.
Why was it stern?
Just look serious. I
always look serious. It's a serious business, you know. I don't sit there eating party pies and putting on headphones listening to the Fox studio to get my insights to the game like a lot of people do, don't they? They walk into a media box, they put their headset on, they don't even watch the game, and they listen to the other experts to get their opinion.
Well, Ross doesn't listen to Fox. Maybe he's listening to 3AW and listened to Sam Docherty over the weekend. He's good fun in a presser. I enjoy it.
I love it. It humours me, I think, is that I wouldn't want to be on the other end of it and I feel sorry for the other people that are asking the questions.
All right, I'll ask you this, because obviously there's always talk off the back of it, and I think you just treat it for what it is. We were always told in our time at Geelong, when someone asks you a question, it's an invitation to speak. And so then if you answer it the way you want to answer it. So Ross is just doing that. Is it deflection away from his team?
Absolutely it is. But
doesn't it create more actual... In a way, I know he's deflecting, but it actually creates more spotlight, doesn't it?
More spotlight, but he's kind of using himself as a shield in many ways.
True.
No one's talking about the game. Everyone just starts talking about Ross and the argument that he had with the reporters. So there's probably smart tactics in the background of it. And Ross was in the media for a little while, wasn't he?
He was.
As well,
he was
It shows a lot of 3AW again this week. It's actually good for my mental health.
Yeah, it's good for my mental health.
No, he does make me laugh a little bit. As I said, it wouldn't be the most enjoyable thing as the reporters just trying to do their job, ask the questions about the game. But it does raise some questions around St Kilda. They're a very interesting team for me this year. I probably got sucked into their trade period last year and probably thought that they were set to really compete this year. The long as the year's gone on, I've probably been more impressed with what their future holds than this year specifically, which is probably a good thing for St Kilda fans out there. But they haven't done as much as I would have thought this year. And what about you? You similar?
I've been incredibly optimistic about St Kilda. They've had no traditional key forward, like one of note, because the big one's been out for 2 years. We came back and unfortunately hurt his hamstring injury. So I think they've found ways. You take Silvani now out, it's going to make it very difficult. I think Silvani's been a success for them. Unfortunately, Flanders got hurt. I think Ryan has shown, he's been a tick as well. DeConing's still finding his feet and what that looks like with Rowan Marshall and things like that. I don't think it's been a failure, but I don't think it's been a success either with DeConing. I think we've seen glimpses.
Where do you sit on the? This is completely off topic here, but not off topic. It's off the run sheet. But where do you sit on the Marshall and DeConning? Do they need both, or should they let one go?
Well, it'll free up cap space. But what are you going to get with the cap space? I'm very bullish on that younger core of Saints players, and that's always been my conversation regarding Saints. Is when they went back and signed all those players. It's like, just make sure you lock in, Darcy Wilson, which now they're now done. I think Boxall's shown a lot. Garcia's shown a lot. I want to get Mitch Owens going a bit more because I've liked his start to his AFL career. I think he can be an incredibly awkward matchup because he just leaves everything out there. Philippou, let's find his true AFL spot. Is he going to be a midfielder? Is he going to be a half forward? Is he a mix of both? So I'm very bullish on that group of Saints.
Max Hall's in that one as well.
Max Hall as well. Can they get the spot for Travalia and Taru going as well? Taru unfortunately has had some suspensions in the VFL as well. So that's why I'm a little bit bullish on the Saints. It's not necessarily call it the spending spree.
Yeah, I feel like for Tom and Rowan, I just feel like they're both number one ruckmen.
Yeah, they're big boppers.
They're both an 80% ruck, which you have both of them playing, you can't do that. When Tom's been out and injured, Ron Marshall's returned to one of the form players in the competition across that little period of time, and then. So it's just an interesting list management decision that they've got coming up. Can that cap space be used more efficiently for other positions in the ground to help them moving forward? All
right, I've given you 20 seconds here. The game of the round, is it St Kilda versus Carlton, and who wins?
I'm working it. It is St Kilda versus Carlton, and the Blues are going to win that one.